Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Saturday stream. Today you get me and no Arcadi, no special guests, but I am going to answer Jay's question in the chat right now. If you can moderate a little bit or at least let me know if there's some questions that I miss. So today I am actually addressing two issues that Jay Tulip asked me to take a look at. And in the process of doing that and perusing through the UK's Daily Mail website, looking at these issues, then I ran across something that just really ticked me off. So I'll take a look at that. That's an unadvertised thing. Hey, Svetlana, how are you today? So let's just dig right in. The one I am going to talk about first is actually the simple one. And I guess I should have queued this up. But let's see, Navalny's mother. So we will get her up on the screen here. So I was asked to take a look at this article, and basically it was supposed to be a letter from Navalny's mother to Navalny's wife, telling her that she had turned Navalny's daughter against her own family, that his wife was not welcome in Russia anymore, so on and so on. When I researched this, it turned out there was an audio file, just an audio file, and it actually had this picture on it in YouTube. And when you played it, the voice was extremely close. It was off just a little bit. I did some audio analysis on it and determined that it actually was not her voice. It was actually a modified digital representation of it, which is fairly easy to do with AI these days. So this was actually fake. And I then ran across this, which threw up the second red flag, which is Navalny's mother challenging the Kremlin. Now, these two things were posted almost at the same time. Hey, Peter. So that was another red flag. And this is what people need to think about when they're looking at things like this, is don't just take anything that you see and say, it's got to be the truth. So the initial audio file, like I say, a picture, audio, nothing else. That's a bit of a red flag. This actually went viral out there. The audio has been taken down. It was on YouTube and it's been taken down by YouTube at this point. And so this was the actual one, which is the West has kind of twisted this a little bit in Russia won't give them his give her his body, and she wants to have a funeral for him and everything. Actually, what the real situation is Russia has asked her to have a private funeral ceremony to keep it out of the news. So, and here again, this has come up as a fake appeal, the original one. So it was propaganda, and this particular site is a Russian news site. So that's what we have to say about that. I also stumbled across this, of course, which is typical Western press propaganda, is using headlines to give you an idea of what's going to be said before you actually read the article, because most people don't actually read the article. He was killed by a single punch to the heart taught to KGB agents. So that implies the KGB agent killed him with a punch to the heart. But if you go down here and you read, it says he was likely killed by a punch after being exposed to freezing conditions using a technique once taught to KGB agents. So the actual story is a little bit different. And of course, you know, What we have is somebody who told the Times, a former human rights guy who's been exiled from Russia. So you really can't, take that as the truth. Now, okay, Jay, what's the point of stirring up trouble between Navalny's mother and widow? They're all irrelevant. Private funeral on unmarked grave would be best. Yep, you're right. But it is what it is. I'm just reporting what I found. So the first one was fake news. The second one is the reality. Whether it's right or not to let her have this big publicized funeral is, you know, just it is what it is. So Jay says now they're saying that he was forced down and made to swallow Novichok. So it appears the UK is changing their story from just a couple of days ago. So because this was the UK reporting this as well. That was on the 21st. So we've changed our story today. Yeah, Peter, I know you just look at pictures. I'm a visual guy too. So the second thing I wanted to address, because this was in the same grouping of questions, was an American Russian ballerina who was arrested in Moscow. And again, we are, what have I got here? Oh, yeah. So we already did that. We'll remove this from my screen. It's difficult to produce and talk at the same time. So, and I'm trying to be a little less like an engineer. Um, so, yeah, we'll get to that one in a minute. So, the ballerina, this was the original article that I popped across. So, chuk. So, Ksenia Karelina, she is a Russian woman who moved to the United States. She's a ballerina. She married an American man, got her citizenship, divorced him. You can make your own decisions on that. So, yeah, and Jay, the article says it was over $51. And reality is that is not the entire story. Of course it isn't. So, according to the Daily Mail article, they actually published two articles on the 20th. This one, and then they published this one saying that she has been 7 weeks in a freezing jail cell and 13-hour interrogations for $51 donation. Her employer says. So let's take a look at that for a minute. If you look into it, the reports are based around the human rights activists of the First Division Project. And they say, so it's, some group that says they know what happened. And they claim she was arrested over sending $51. They also say that she was detained on January 27th. She was actually arrested and detained on February 20th. But even if you use their January 27th date, it still hasn't been 7 weeks yet. So, propaganda reporting again. Now, yes, Daily Mail is garbage. So, reality is she was arrested, and the actual charges filed against her in Russia say since February of 2022, she has been collecting money on her own initiative in the interests of one of the Ukrainian organizations, which was subsequently used to purchase tactical medicine, equipment, weapons of destruction, and ammunition by the armed forces of Ukraine. In addition, on the territory of the United States, the citizen repeatedly took part in public actions in support of the Kiev regime. So that's actually what she was charged with. And she wasn't actually put in a detention center until February 8th. So, what, 2 weeks ago, and her sentence is until April 6th. So, again, we've taken some truth, we've wrapped it around lies. Uh, you know, Never accept a post of just a photo as a headline. Dig a little deeper. So, this one, let me gander at the comments here. Yeah, the daily fail, Jay. I like that one. Yep. Okay. So while I was looking at these two things for Jay, it really pissed me off when I came across this one. Same guys, daily. Nope, wrong one. Let me get the right one up here. Sharing the wrong window. And share screen. But again, this is another daily fail deal. But it caught my attention. Putin fanboy Tucker Carlson has gone mad, cackling over Navalny's murder. Trump and Biden are too decrepit to stop Russia kidnapping U.S. citizens, referring to the Ballerina. And has American been so weak in the face of its oldest enemy? Peter, no, I actually have had these tucked away, but I figured I'd use them for a while. So now, why did this set me off? This article goes on to talk about this deal. And it really kind of pissed me off because I've heard this over and over. As you all know, the International Criminal Court has charged Putin with war crimes. And as I looked at this, Ukraine's actually published a map with these supposed 70 re-education camps. And these re-education camps include the Artek Children's Camp, all over the south mainly, but some of them in, up around Moscow. So they basically, a lot of children were sent to, children's camps to get them away from the war zone. Now, what is the problem that the West has with this is they claim, and got to find the right window again. They claim that removing these children from Donbass, from what they say is Ukrainian territory, is a violation of Articles 49 and 50 of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in a time of war, which prohibits the forced relocation or deportation of persons from the occupied territory. So this is what the West is claiming. However, we will take a look at wherever I have it here. Article 49 of the Geneva Convention. It says that forcible transfers and deportations are not allowed, but the occupying power, which would be Russia in the eyes of the UN and the West, may undertake total or partial evacuation of a given area if the security of the population or imperative military reasons demand. And they cannot involve displacement of people outside the bounds of the occupied territory, except when, for reasons, it's impossible to avoid this displacement. So basically, Article 50 goes on and talks about cooperating with national and local authorities. So this is kind of where the West has twisted things, because we go back to, yeah, I'll get there yet. These are actually what they define as um, the six grave violations of the Geneva Convention. And they're throwing this under the abduction of children. But, and it's a big but, Russia has moved children out of the Donbass. They admit 700,000 Ukrainian children. However, they have done this legally. This was done legally under the Geneva Convention that they're accused of violating. And part of this is you start seeing stories like this one. This is also in the Kiev Post. And you see this nice picture of these children who have been sent from Donbass to Russia to be indoctrinated and sent to war. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Wonderful. It's been debunked. And the thing I really, since we're doing a propaganda piece here, that I want you to notice is you look at this flag up here. Looks impressive. They claim this is the flag of the Air Force of the Russian Federation. However, they should have done their research and put up an appropriate flag, because this is the flag of the airborne forces of the Russian Federation. This one, with no motto on the bottom, is the Soviet flag. So they dug out an old, possibly Soviet flag. But we're going to go down here. We're going to find the actual flag that they have, which is this one. This is the flag of the airborne forces of the Republic of Kazakhstan. So if you don't look at it, looks like a great photo. Look what the Russians are doing to our children. And, it's just fake news again. So look at things and do a little bit of research. Now, there is a lot of talk about students have been sent to Russia, put with foster parents. They are being trained to love Russia and ignore their own heritage. And reality is you're always going to have problems when you relocate children. And putting children who have been separated by war, it's Russia's responsibility to take care of those kids. So they have to put them, give them medical care. They have to put them in foster homes so that they're actually taken care of. Now, are they going to experience, in Russia, people speaking Russian instead of Ukrainian? Absolutely. Yeah, they send the children to school. So, of course, they're going to be taught what Russian children are being taught. And part of that, I've seen some stories where some children have been reunited with their parents or a relative. That's the requirement. It can be any relative who can prove that they're the parent or relative. And the children say, oh, I was forced to sing the Russian national anthem, and I was forced to do this. The children picked on me because I was Ukrainian. And unfortunately, children are mean little buggers. So you can probably believe that. And, the national anthem, they do that in the schools. They say the Pledge of Allegiance in United States schools. Grew up with that. So they're treating the kids just like any other kid in the schools. They're getting educated, but they also provide remote learning. So the children are able to do, use computers and do remote learning. But I also want to show you that it isn't just in Russia. So here's one story. This is our good friends over in Poland. I had some help digging this stuff up from a good friend of mine who lives over there. But we had a foster mother. She was the head of an orphanage, and she brought 10 of the children to Poland, and she was arrested and charged after a long investigation with beating the children and selling them to German pedophiles. So she actually has been charged in this. And, but here you go. There's several of these articles on this particular Polish news site that talk about things like this. This particular article is a teenager who talks about she's alone in her class like a cat. She doesn't fully understand the Polish language. They've got a lot of anti-Ukrainian sentiment there right now. So she is teased by the Polish children. Um, in the case of where they have several Ukrainian children, they put them in the same class so they can gather together, they talk, they study together, they help each other. But now you have the cliques. You have the Ukrainian children and the Polish children, and there's fights between them. The teachers have problems with them. And of course, there was a psychology report in this as well that talked about the fact that when you remove children from their natural environment, they often act out. So all the things Russia's being accused of happens all over the world whenever you have a situation like this. And a lot of these children that are there are orphans and do not have parents, and they've been put with foster people in Poland. Body of leading Russia has been returned to his mother. Cool. That's good, Jay. So this does happen all over the place. And this is actually the 2022 report by the Secretary General on the protection of children in war zones made no mention of Ukraine and Russia. This is the 2023 report, and you will hear about how the UN has condemned Russia. They've filed charges against Putin, but you have to look at everything. They actually talk about the same violations of the Ukrainian army here. And they say they welcome the engagement of the government of Ukraine with their special representative and establishing an interministerial committee on children and armed conflict. And he welcomes the engagement of the government with the United Nations. And he's concerned with the number of grave violations against children by Ukrainian armed forces. So he does go on and says the same thing about Russia. However, we will note down in the appendix, way down near the bottom, armed forces and affiliated armed groups, they call them out specifically. I don't know where it is. I will give you guys a link to this. You can read it if you choose to do so. But reality is they do call out the fact that Russia has established an organization that does work with them. So, oh, hey, and I never put it on the screen for you. So here, I already closed it, but I'll give you a link to it anyway. So I was reading directly from the article. Distracted myself with my own rambling without having that on the screen. Anyway, Russia does have an organization that deals with these issues. You can read this article. It's freely available. It actually is a report done by the children's rights group that says that, you know, how many children are in Russia, how many have been reunited with their parents, the steps they've taken to, uh, identify parents and relatives. So Russia is doing what they're supposed to. Ukraine is expected to do this, but in a year from when this report was released a year ago, they haven't yet. So um, you guys in Navalny, he's non-issue, but it's the only thing you talk about. We're talking about children here, for crying out loud. So the thing I wanted to do here, though, is to look at, what has happened with our Western friends. I'm going to take some pot shots at NATO and the United States here. So this is an article talking about children in wartime. And it talks about exactly what I found, because I read every report going back to when this was put in place back in 86, I think it was. Some parties responsible for harming children are not included in the list, and others are listed only for a few of the violations, and some have been removed from the list. You will not find one mention of the United States or a Western European country in any of these UN documents. They just aren't there. Have they been removed or just not added to the list? That's a question for you to decide on your own. But here's some of the things that have been reported about the US. There is actually evidence on this thing. US soldiers raping boys in front of their mothers. This was, I don't know, Syria or Iraq. I have a statement here from a friend of mine who was in Operation Desert Storm, and he says the U.S. military left Afghanistan very disorganized. It was decided to withdraw thousands of Afghan children without parents from August to December 2021. So the United States did exactly the same thing that they're accusing Russia of. But there was nothing in the 2022 report of the UN Secretary General that even mentions this. So we'll go back even a little further. This is 1999, the shelling of Yugoslavia and Serbia. I usually refer to it as Serbia because I have friends in Serbia and they get peeved about stuff like this. Oh, yeah, well, tell Kevin to add it to the stage. Somebody has to remind me of these things. So I'll go back. Here's the one statement. This is the statement I read to you a minute ago. So the US and NATO, without UN approval, bombed Yugoslavia, and they killed many people, children, injured thousands. And this is part of where you get into the whole Geneva Convention thing. They targeted bridges, hospitals, markets, and trains. They destroyed 300 schools, libraries, and 20 hospitals. Now, if you read the condemnation of Russia, then it was like, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, under 20 schools. It was like 15, 13 schools, a couple of hospitals, and but over this, and again, you won't find this in the UN papers unless you really, really dig, they were indicted. The leaders of NATO were indicted for war crimes and convicted of them under the Geneva Convention. And this was back in 1999. Here's a statement by one of the prosecutors that he's quoting there. but this is what happened there. So you got the same crimes that they're accusing Russia of in a much larger scale, much larger. And these charges that were leveled, if you go and search, you will find the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. So it sounds like a Yugoslavian based organization that's filed these charges, or that they were filed in Yugoslav courts. And actually, this is a tribunal of the United Nations. So Clinton, um, Tony Blair, all of these guys have actually been charged, and they have uh, warrants on them from the International Court of Justice, just like Putin. Yet you see these guys flying all over the world with impunity. Why? Because nobody pays any attention to what the Russians or what the West did. And it just isn't right. So that's kind of my soapbox for today. And I'm ignoring you guys talking about Navalny. So if you have any questions about anything I've said, yes, Jay, they're only trying to save kids. So, there are pictures out there of kids freely getting into tanks with Russian soldiers to be evacuated. We have actually had kids here locally that were sent to the Arctic camp, and they have a good time. Their parents actually, one or both, are with them, and they're taking care of while the kids are there. Are there problems? Yes, we hear from teachers in the schools in Crimea, because we're tied in with them as well, that some of these children are not a problem. Many of them are native Russian speakers. They were brought here freely by their parents. But some of them, even brought here by their own Russian speaking parents, cause trouble in the school. They, don't follow the rules. They have this very ultra nationalist attitude towards them. And the teachers complain that they aren't allowed to do anything about it. They have to teach and they have to deal with the children, but they can't punish them in any way. So, if any of you have anything else to add or comments to make, I'm open to it. Otherwise, after a week of extremely long nights, I'm going to go to bed early today. So, yes, PTSD. I would agree. Hey, what can you say? You grow up in a war zone, and you're going to have that. The person you guys want to go out and look for and read her poetry and her articles is Faina Savinkova. Wonderful young woman from Donetsk. She is a political activist at this point. She's now, she's either 15 or just turned 16. I don't remember which one she just turned. We've had her on the show, and she's a wonderful young woman. I talk to her on a regular basis, advise her on some things, have helped her with some things she's tried getting out there. And, you can throw the popcorn and cheese cubes. Yep, thanks, Jay. So she just turned 15. You can throw the popcorn and the cheese cubes at NATO and the UN. So, but Faina is, like I say, if you want to know what it's like for a child to grow up in a war zone, she's been writing about this for almost 10 years now. Wonderful, wonderful young lady. You can find her videos on VK if you go out there, look her up. Well worth getting to know this young lady. And it's a surprise how well balanced she is for somebody who has grown up with this. I'll mention this just because I talked to him a couple of days ago. I talked to my friend Russell Bentley, And I don't care what you think about Russell, if you think he's a lunatic or he's a bad guy, a good guy, uh, God's gift to the Russian Federation. Doesn't matter to me. He's a friend of mine. And, you know, Western news has been talking about, gee, Russia took Avdiivka. So now the Ukrainians can't shell Donetsk anymore. That also is propaganda. They're still shelling Donetsk. And Russell told me that they had several strikes in the center of Donetsk over the last couple of days. So again, the West spins the story to their benefit, and it's not necessarily true. So you got to talk to these guys to really know. That said, y'all have a good Saturday day or Saturday evening for you, Jay, since I know you where you are. Svetlana, have a great rest of your evening. I look forward to that arm wrestling match with you. So we'll have to do that one live. So that's all I have to say. Well, actually, I'll say like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and if you haven't liked. You can find us on Telegram here, since I neglect these things when I'm here alone. And if you want to support our work, you can actually find links on our website here. And you can support us in going around talking to people, digging this information up. It's a lot of work. Took me 2 days of research to fulfill this request from Jay. So you're welcome, Jay. And I will tell Irina that she does a great job of buying shirts for me. She would actually prefer if I buttoned my shirts and straightened my collars, but I get a little lazy. So, that's how she says everyone can tell I'm an American. But I've been wearing these more often. I know, Jay, you like my, my camo shirts, but they're getting worn out. So I have to wear something nicer now. Thank you, Jay. So, everybody, thanks for coming. If you didn't see it all, rewind it, like, subscribe. Check out our other channel if you want more anti-propaganda stuff. If I can find the banner for it. So I'm trying to do something there every couple of days or so. I will quit doing the information warfare stuff on this channel because YouTube does not treat me mixing niches very well. So we've been getting deprioritized on what we normally put on this channel. So okay, Jay, I'll talk to you later. Oh, a question. What about the t-shirt with the bear we were floating on Telegram yesterday? AliExpress does not ship here, and I have not been able to find a t-shirt shop in Crimea that can make them. However, one of my friends who lives over in Krasnodar said if I wanted to buy them, he would be happy to ship them to me. I don't know why that doggone thumb keeps showing up behind me. Sometimes I say certain words and I get balloons. Don't know what that's all about. But anyway, yeah, I can probably get these shirts, and I should probably put a link to it. So the only people who can ship to us here is CDEC, and I don't know if you guys have CDEC there. I know they ship back and forth to the United States, but that's the only way to get a package to Crimea. It's pretty much the only way to get a package to Russia these days. There's a couple of couriers, but it's not worth 150 to 200 bucks to send a shirt here. But So maybe we'll put a site up on Etsy or something, and if y'all want the Russian bear shirt, we will give you ways to get them. We've decided this will be a Team American in Crimea shirt. So that was a great idea, Jay, and we'll get that up soon. So talk to y'all later.